So this is the bi-weekly meeting of the Storage Special Interest Group for Kubernetes. Today is February 16, 2017. As a reminder, this meeting is public and recorded. Today on the agenda, first up is status updates. We're going to go over the items that folks are working on for this quarter. As a reminder, release code freeze for 1.6 is 1 week away. We have next week, and then the following Monday is code freeze. So if you have features in flight, please make sure that they get completed in time. But just to make sure we check in on what we're planning for this release, let's just go over the spreadsheet. Let me see if I can share my screen. I'm going to mute some folks. All right, and where is the share screen button? Share screen. All right, can you guys see that?
Yep.
All right, cool. So out of tree volume plugins was supposed to be in design this quarter. So the announcement here is that it is currently in the works. A lot of folks, me, Michael, Tim, have started talking to folks from Mesos, Cloud Foundry, and Docker about having some sort of standard interface, a container storage interface that we can all agree on as a standard model, and then kind of the design. We're hoping the implementation falls out of that. So those discussions are ongoing. We're going to start sharing the notes from that more widely. Right now, we're trying to keep the group small in order to try to make progress on it without getting hampered down by too many voices. But that's going to open up more soon. Next up is the next iteration of Flex Volumes. Chakri and I had a meeting about this last week. Chakri, are you on the line?
Hi, Saad. Yes.
Do you want to give
be done? Yes. Actually, I'm almost getting there, and should be done by tomorrow. End of day, most I will send out the review.
Cool. And then as soon as that's in, I'll just try to take a look at that, and we'll get it merged within the next week. So as a reminder, the big update here is that we're going to add attacher-detacher interface to Flex Volume, where Chakri is also going to make sure that the new iteration of Flex remains backwards compatible so that existing drivers don't break, which will be very nice. Next up is external provisioners. Brad, do you have any update on that?
Yes. So we've been working to. So our plan has been to refactor the current repo to house multiple external provisioners. So we've had to restructure the directory a little bit. We're working to get a new repo so we can move the refactoring there and point the old repo to the new, and that's still in progress.
Okay, and there is no code changes that need to be done in the Kubernetes core for this, right?
Correct. That's correct.
Cool. All right, so next up is local ephemeral storage and local persistent storage. Michelle, are you on the line?
Yeah, I'm here.
Do you want to give an update on this?
Yeah, sure. So Vish and I put a proposal out, and so far we've gotten a lot of good feedback. There's a few open issues that we still need to work out, but definitely, yeah, I want to thank everyone for looking at it so far and giving a lot of good comments.
Cool. Next up is the mount options pass-through work that is hopefully going GA this quarter. Amant, do you want to give an update on this?
Yeah, so I put out a design proposal as being, it's like the code change itself, I've started barely, but there's a lot of, we are getting close to a final design that's like, that should be done by today, I hope, and I should be able to present the work sometime like, maybe Wednesday next week, actually, the first cut of the code for that.
Okay. And so I think the last open question there was whether we were okay bumping that field from volume specific to a first class field globally.
Yeah.
In the pod definition. And I think the answer to that is it should be fine. It is different for example, FS type, but it's not completely unheard of. For example, mount path currently is a first class field that gets interpreted by volume plugins. So having mount options be a first class field that gets interpreted by volumes should be okay as well.
Okay, that sounds good. I will update the design proposal to include that bit, and then, yeah.
Cool.
Hey, Saad, can I just add something quick?
Sure, feel free.
Michelle's got this amazing proposal. Just go one item back on this persistent storage for local disk, small block devices. There's loads of feedback on it, but I'm noticing the usual characters in the community that are trying to run data management platforms and stuff like that are not commenting on it. So I'm taking a guess that maybe they just don't sort of know about it, or so I just want to take a second. If you're working on something like want to run Cassandra in Cube using local disks or Mongo or Gluster or Ceph or any kind of storage platform or something that uses local disk, federates it, provides an API for consumption of that storage, this is a freaking massive proposal. It's hugely important. It's as big as dynamic provisioning in my opinion. So you might want to pay attention to it.
Yeah, thanks for calling that out.
Okay, yeah, it might be also good. I don't remember if we CC'd this workload SIG on it, so I'll double check, and if not, I'll add them.
Cool. All right, next up is testing. Erin, do you want to give an update here?
Sure, I think we've made some really good progress with the testing, getting rid of flakes, getting quite a few PRs merged since the last meeting. I've also had some more people asked to be invited to the meeting through the community. So I think we're getting more involvement and more buy-in. We're continuing to work on the destructive testing and some of the high priority tests, including the wedging. So we're on track, and I look forward to seeing some new members tomorrow at the meeting.
Awesome. Looks like I skipped an item, stabilizing AWS. Jing or Justin, do either of you happen to be on the line? I'm going to guess.
So, Saad, this is Hemant.
Yes.
Like three of us are working on this. Like we have calls Thursday, 1 p.m. generally. So we have sorted some items like actions to track on, and we are working through. So Justin is working on the caching proposal. I opened a proposal for bulk volume that will the bulk volume polling, and we are going to have a call today to discuss that proposal so that we will eliminate some of the extra calls that we're making in AWS. So that's where we stand, and if people want to join in and come to that meeting, that'll be great.
Yeah, feel free to share a link to that meeting. Also, what do you think that all the work that's planned will make it in time for code freeze?
I can't hear you.
Sorry, I was saying, do you think that all the work that's planned for AWS will make it in time for code freeze, which is just about a week?
It depends, but we'll know for sure some of the items after the today's meeting, actually today's call.
Okay. So some of the items, if they're purely bug fixes, could theoretically be done after code freeze, but it sounds like a lot of it is feature work. So definitely bring that up at the meeting today if you can.
Okay, sure.
As a reminder to everyone. All right, cool. Next up is the NFS wedging issue. This, I think we may have dropped the ball on a little bit. Does anyone know if anyone took ownership of this? I'm going to take that as a no.
I thought Jeff was looking at that. Jeff, are you on? I'll follow up with Jeff on that one, Saad.
Cool. Thank you very much. We're going to put that down as a question mark for now. I should be keeping track of status, but let's just mark it as orange. Next up is Containerized Mountains to GA. I believe Jing has been working on this. She has some work that's planned. I'm not sure what the current status is. Rajat unfortunately left the team, so we're down a member, but I believe Jing will still be able to. Oh, there you are, Jing.
Yeah. So right now I'm working on that, and so I take over Rajat's PR and address Vish comments. So it should not take much time. So I hopefully like by this week. So it may be ready. Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, we have resources that can help out on this too, if needed for reviews or whatever. Jan's been.
Jing, do you want to assign some of your reviews to Jan?
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you, Brad. All right, so next up is default storage classes for cloud providers. Jan already had the PR out for this. I think the only open items here were coming up with a better mechanism for being able to disable the default storage classes because they were cluster add-ons and they require access to the master to delete. I think Michelle had a work that she had a bug that she was tracking. Michelle, do you have any updates on that?
Yeah, so the add-on team has a PR out to make changing add-on, add-on attributes stick. So I think that PR just needs to be reviewed and then it can be merged.
Okay. Can you keep an eye on that and make sure we get it in within the next week?
Yeah.
Can you please put me on CC on this PR?
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Next up is storage metrics. Hemant again is working on this. Hemant, do you have an update on this?
We got the design proposal LGTM'd. It's not been much, but it's been basically looked by you and monitoring POs, I think. I don't know. So I'll have the code, actual code like sometime next week, but the design is good to go. So yeah, it shouldn't be too.
And we'll get that proposal merged soon as well.
Cool.
Next up, scheduling by node capabilities. I have not started work on this yet.
Can you hear me?
Sorry.
Hello, Saad.
Yes.
Yeah, this is regarding the storage class GA. The dashboard today has no support for storage classes. Is that something that gates the GA of storage classes?
The UI dashboard?
Yes.
That is a good question. Jan, do you know?
I don't know.
That's a good point. Ritesh, could you send a message to SIG Storage, the mailing list, and then
Sure.
see if we can follow up on it.
I can file an issue with the dashboard repo as well that we need to add support for this.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And we've got a week left, so we may need to scramble some resources to get this done. And then we need to decide if it's a blocker or not for going GA for storage classes. The other open issues for going GA for storage classes is whether we are allowed to promote the storage class field to a first class field in PVCs. I think Brian Grant had some input there, but he's out in Tahoe at the open source leadership convention. He should be back next week and we'll have his input. So I think we'll have a better signal next week whether storage classes to GA is a go or no go. So it looks like two open items there. One is dashboards and two is whether the API can be promoted.
There was another discussion around the attribute stuff is that right now with PVC, anybody being able to set the attribute for a PVC to be belonging to a storage classes, that basically reduces storage class down to a label. And I don't know if the SIG feels that there should be a stronger relationship similar to what exists between claims and PVs, where the relationship between a PV and a storage class is more hardened so that it actually needs to be something that really belongs to the storage class, not just a label.
Is there a issue tracking that?
There are a few comments in the attribute PR, not a issue in itself.
I see. Could you call
I can start an issue.
call both of those out in the email that you send out as open issues for storage class GA, and I think that'll be a good place to start the conversation.
Okay, thanks. Done.
Cool. Thank you so much for bringing it up. So that was storage classes to GA. We already went over metrics, node capabilities. I have not started working on, but it's supposed to be designed for this quarter. So I plan on starting on it after code complete or code freeze. Snapshots. I think we, Jing, do you know what the status of this is? I believe we're punting on this. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I have like an initial design doc, but right now it's just for internal discussion, and I'll work and hopefully like continue to work on it, and then we'll share with the with others and community.
And this is a design doc, so we could work on it after code
yeah.
as well.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so just to add to that, we're, for Openshift, we're pretty big on trying to get snapshots in sooner rather than later. So we've also had on the Red Hat side internal design discussions. So maybe it might be an idea just to get together with the folks that are designing, just design together just to move the ball forward on this stuff.
Yeah. If you could set up some time with Jing and those folks, that would be great.
Okay, I will.
Cool. Next up is data replication. I don't believe we've made any progress here. Sarge, are you on the line?
Well, there is some progress made. There's a document that I started with a bunch of open questions. I believe it will be ready for discussion next week.
Okay.
So I'm going to put it up there. I need to contact you. I'll contact you offline too.
Sounds good. All right, cool. Thank you for that. Next up is bringing storage classes to GA. We've already discussed this. There are some open items that may put this at risk. We'll carry this discussion offline and then hopefully have a better answer next week. Enabling metrics on volume controllers. I thought we already reviewed that. Wasn't that tracked above somewhere?
Yeah, there's a cloud provider metrics and there's a volume metrics.
Okay. It's the same mechanism. Is it different proposals or?
Yeah, that's a different proposal. So it's the zonal volume controller, and that's one the previous one on the cloud provider.
Got it. Okay.
So that's why it's so there's a PR on the design, and actually there's a PR on the design and issue on the proposal, and also a PR on the code.
Okay. The design proposal has been approved already, or?
Design proposal, unfortunately, no one reviewed it. So,
no one's reviewed it?
But
okay.
I think it's a low-hanging fruit, so.
Yeah. Let me mark it as orange as a reminder for myself to go in and review the proposal. But yeah, it's non-critical for this release. It would be great if we can get it in. If not, no big deal. Next up is the Dell EMC Scale IO volume plugin. I think this has been blocked on me for code review, but I've assigned it to, I believe, Jing or Michelle to take a look at it.
It was Jing.
Jing, okay. So when Jing gets a chance to look at it, I'll take a look at it after her, and then hopefully we can get this in within the next week as well.
Yeah.
I think as far as the code is concerned, you guys are done there, right?
Yeah, we're just waiting for you to take a look at it and give it final blessing.
Okay. And if anybody else in the community wants to look at this or the Portworx volume plugin, please feel free to jump in on those code reviews. Encryption walkthrough. This was something that I think Michael added, but we never got an owner for it. So we're going to skip over that. Running stateful applications via federation plane. Michael, are you there? Yeah, I don't think we had any big discussions with the federation folks, so my guess is that this is not going anywhere for this quarter.
So Saad, I just want to share, I've got 2 folks hacking on that right now.
Oh, okay.
So what they're doing is they've built like a reference application that's stateful, which it's a Pac-Man running in Nginx that stores its high scores in a MongoDB cluster.
Huh.
And we, basically been moving it around a federated cluster in GCE, actually GKE, and they've already got some findings and some feedback. It's not really a design. They're just kind of figuring out like what works, what doesn't, like what do we need to add, stuff like that. So
very
I
cool.
don't know what you want to do with that, but they're exploring it. I just,
that if they could send out their findings to the storage SIG mailing list, that'd be great.
Okay.
There's a lot of folks interested in hearing about this. So.
Okay. Yeah, I thought maybe they could demo or something like that at some point.
That would be cool. All right, cool. Resource available scheduling. Vish, are you on the line? Do you want to give an update on this? Don't think he's there. And Rajat left the team. Michelle, do you happen to know the status of this?
Is this the node allocable thing?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, I think Vish is working on that to get it into 1.6.
Okay. And it's supposed to be designed for this quarter, so I guess technically we have no commitments in terms of what needs to get into code. So whatever we can get in the next week or so is fine. If we don't get anything else in, that's okay too.
Yeah, I think at least for 1.6, he was thinking just the CPU and memory part. So storage will come later.
Okay. Cool. Portworx volume plugin. I believe I assigned this to Michelle. Michelle, I don't know if you have the bandwidth for this. If not, we can reassign it to someone else.
Yeah, I can try looking at it. I probably will need some help because I'm working on some other bugs right now, which are taking up a lot of time.
Okay. I'll try to take a look at it as well. So if I get to it before you, then no worries.
Okay.
Last is projections volume plugin. This is something Paul Morey was pushing. I am not entirely sure what this feature is. Does anybody else have any details on this?
No.
Yeah, it'd be great if we could get Jeff or Paul into the storage SIG meeting to talk about this at some point. We'll follow up with them offline. All right, so I think we're looking relatively good. A couple of orange issues. Other than that, we're pretty good. All right, what's next on the agenda? No design reviews. Does anybody have any designs that they want to bring up or talk about right now? Steve wrote a comment. I'm interested in talking about the snapshots proposal. Do you want to talk about that here, Steve, or somewhere else?
Yeah, I guess we can. The main, it's kind of, snapshots are kind of interesting. Like, when I looked at Jing's proposal, initially I had a misconception that I discovered later, which was that things like Gluster, when you take a snapshot, it's immediately available as an additional volume, and you can mount that snapshot right away, which isn't true for a lot, apparently all the cloud providers and a lot of other technologies. So what I was sort of thinking of was, before I discovered that, was sort of being able to sort of put some sort of annotation on a claim or something that would kick off the snapshotting process that would snapshot the back-end device that's associated with the persistent volume and create a mirror persistent volume and claim for that thing, so that the developer could initiate the snapshots, see them all themselves when they do, kube control get PVC, they would see the snapshots in the list, whatever claim dash snapshots or something like that. But that all got a bit unraveled when, it's not as simple as just creating. It's like a two-phase process: create snapshot and then, turn that snapshot into an EBS disk or something to that effect. So, but anyways, I guess I'm just interested in hearing what Jing was thinking about her approach around that problem and just moving the ball forward on the design.
I wonder if you guys could take leadership on this, since I'm not sure Jing has the bandwidth, and you guys seem to be much more interested in it and have the requisite background. I mean, Jing would still be involved, but maybe you guys could take the leadership on it.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah, Serge, I'm sure, has a lot of expertise on this. It would be to have him in there too.
Actually, there are 3 phases, not 2. There is a phase when you request a snapshot, then there is a phase when snapshot gets available. And then there's the 3rd phase when you convert snapshot into a new volume.
So maybe what we can do is just have an initial meeting where we make sure that everybody's ideas are all captured in one place, and then maybe Serge and I could run with it, and then just have a review or something like that. That's fine with me.
I think that would be
fine with me.
Great.
So I just got the document from James, the initial snapshot discussion there. So you'll give me like a day to read it, and then let's schedule something.
Okay, sounds good.
Cool.
This is for me. So I just want to have a minor question. Saad, so can you just point to us who is actually working actively on the storage side on the Google team side? So when we are posting PRs, we know who should contact you for reviews.
Sorry, who's working on what?
On storage, actively on the storage side in your team. So when we are, communicate with you, we know who has the bandwidth to review and,
Oh, who should be reviewing storage? Yeah. So it should be pretty well distributed across the storage SIG. I think pretty much everyone who's been contributing the code can be a reviewer. And I think they're automatically assigned as reviewers. There are a handful of approvers, but as far as I understand, approvers are more or less rubber stamps. So they are supposed to be the last gate. If the reviewers, it looks good, the approver just come in, take a quick look at it and approve it. So you should be able to spread the bandwidth across pretty much the whole team.
So are you the front end proxy for that? Are you the one that's
the approvers?
Yeah, are you going to delegate out to who should?
No, I think so. We have these owners files, and inside the owners files there are approvers and reviewers defined for each directory, and the system automatically will distribute code reviews across the reviewers, and that reviewer list is fairly large. And if you'd like to be added to that reviewers list, please just create a PR and add yourself to it and assign it to me or Tim or one of these folks.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to take a note that Steve and Sarge are going to take up snapshots with Jing. All right, so next up, PRs that need attention or detail. Vlad posted the Dell EMC, I think it's the Scale IO plugin.
Yeah, it's the same plugin we were just talking about.
Okay. So yeah, let's hopefully get traction on that as soon as possible, and we'll get it merged for 1.6.
Yeah.
Aditya, Portworx, same deal.
We already talked about it, yes.
Yep.
So the one thing I also need on that PR is for somebody to allow the robot to let it go through testing. I don't think that's been done.
Okay. I can do that right now.
Yes, please.
And the last PR there is 41196. What's that one about?
Yeah, there are a couple of major bugs in the iSCSI volume plugin.
Let me pull that up. Fix for premature iSCSI logout. Okay. It looks like this has merged already. So do you want to give more context on this?
So yeah, there are just issues basically that are fairly, so we're from NetApp, they're fairly pretty much showstoppers for at least some of our equipment when trying to use it with Kubernetes. And we were mostly wondering about the possibility of a backport to 1.5 and 1.4 of the pad.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Let me take a look at that, and I think we could get that approved for 1.4.1.5. Once that's been approved, then it's just a matter of creating a cherrypick. Do you guys know what that process is?
We're not familiar with it.
Okay. Just look up Google Kubernetes cherrypicks, and it should be fairly straightforward. Basically, there's a script inside the hack directory that you can execute. I think it's called like cherrypick.sh. You pass it what branch you want to cherrypick to, release 1.5 in this case, and the PR number, and it will automatically create the pull request. If there's any merge conflicts, it'll ask you to resolve those, and then it'll push to your fork, and then you have you can create a PR off of that and assign it to assign that to me, and then I'll review it and we'll get that merged.
All right, thanks.
All right, finally, Aaron, we punted this from last week. It was deprecating the recycler policy. Do you want to talk about this?
I made sure on our side that it would not be a huge impact.
Okay.
Openshift project management agreed that they could just say in the current release that it would be deprecated in the next. So the business impact on our side, which I think we were worried was going to be the greatest, is minimal. So I'm happy to just, I guess I need to, what do I need to do then? Do I need to go to Brian Grant and ask if we can have an exception, or what's the process?
So just to put this into context for everyone else, the proposal here is to accelerate the deprecation process for the recycler policy, because we've technically been trying to deprecate it for a longer period of time than the official, I think Brad had an official deprecation proposal that was, has that been merged yet, Brad?
Geez. When I opened that, I think like an official process came out afterwards. I got to go look and see if the document actually merged.
Okay. So regardless, I think we may not have followed the official process yet. So the official countdown clock, which is a year or major release, is basically screwing us over, and we're going to see if we could get get around that. But yeah, Brian Grant will be the right person to talk to that about, Aaron, and if you could take the lead on that, that'd be great.
Yep, I'll take it up.
Cool.
Can we add a link to the issue or PR in the notes?
Yeah, Brad, could you do that?
Yes.
Cool. All right, so that is all that we have on the agenda for today. Does anybody have any other items that they'd like to discuss?
Hey, Saad, this is Gu with Portworx. Just a quick request. If Serge and Steve, when you guys talk about snapshots and replication, if I could be involved, that would be great. We have some experience in that area. Just maybe be a fly on the wall and see if I could help out.
Drop me an email so that I know who to share it with.
Yeah, Serge, I did email. We exchanged. So
oh, okay. Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Is this the right forum for also discussing the local storage proposal that is ongoing?
Yeah, absolutely. We have about 20 minutes left, so if you want to take the time to bring that up, feel free.
I just wanted to know, like, what are the timelines for getting local storage volumes and having that supported in stateful sets? What are we thinking is the right, like, when would we have it?
Yeah, so the main plan right now is for 1.6 is just design, but then we should be able to get some sort of alpha feature available in 1.7 timeframe.
Okay, so this is mainly for local storage as persistent volumes, right?
Correct. Yeah,
okay.
And I think the first use case we're targeting is going to be stateful sets.
I see. Sounds good. So in terms of timeline, when we're saying 1.7 will be alpha, would that mean 3 months, 6 months? I'm not very familiar with that.
We're doing roughly about every 3 months. So if we're targeting 1.6 at end of March. So +3 would put you at June.
Sounds good. Okay. And then I think right now we are only discussing the use cases, right? So we still need a design for the local storage.
That's correct.
And who owns that?
That will also be 1.6 time frame for the detailed design.
Right. I just wanted to know who owns the design.
I'll be working on that.
May I know your name, please?
Michelle.
Michelle. Okay. Thanks, Michelle. Bye.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, if you're interested in the local storage design, Michelle is leading it. Her name is Michelle AU is her last name. She sent out a doc to the storage SIG mailing list, so you could find her on there as well.
What is your GitHub handle?
MSAU42.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, it's on the proposal if you've seen that already.
Yeah, okay, sound good.
So, Saad, if we don't have anything else, could we talk about the design for a little bit?
Absolutely. The design for local storage?
Yeah.
Cool. Michelle, would you be comfortable talking about that now?
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool.
So I had one question, just how I'm interpreting the proposal. So if I was to describe the problem today, is that you can't, we only have really support for network disks in the persistent volume framework. And so for folks that want to run data management platforms in Kubernetes, they can't use the persistent volume framework. What they have to use is volume plugins. And so essentially you have to use node selectors with host path or empty volume plugins, which is sort of a Kubernetes anti-pattern because you're creating a bunch of pets that then you have to carefully curate and look after, right? There's no sort of adaptive self-healing capability within Kubernetes that you can leverage with that pattern. So if we can take local file systems, in direct attached storage and expose them as persistent volumes, then we can hook those things up to stateful sets. And then basically, I believe the idea is to update the scheduler with some additional scheduling intelligence that says, look, if this pod or replica in the stateful set is using this persistent volume that happens to be a local disk, make sure you schedule that pod on that host. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And then for a stateful set, so for a self-healing capability, okay, so let's just say I have a 6-node Cassandra cluster. So 6-node stateful set for Cassandra, and I've got, 6 persistent volume claims that are all local disks associated with each replica in that stateful set. That works. That's awesome. But if one dies, we obviously don't have the capability to dynamically provision. So do we just have surplus additional persistent volumes that can then be used for that replica in the stateful set?
Yeah, that would have to happen. So in the error case, if say a node dies and you want that pod to release that volume and go use a new volume, that means there has to be an available extra volume available in the cluster.
Okay. And how do we express that that extra capacity of persistent volumes?
So basically what the proposal is that it will basically pre-provision all the local volumes that are available. So, you're going to see them all available as PVs, unbound PVs in the cluster when you do kubectl get PV. So when they're using it, the PV is going to be bound, but then if it's not used, it's going to be unbound. So, it's going to follow the same kind of terminology that we have today.
So if a pod replica goes down, it's just going to go grab a PV of type local disk or whatever we pick from the pool and use it for the new pod replica. Okay. That's a huge step forward in what we have today. That's awesome. And then
this is Gu. I had a question on the scheduler convergence. So we accomplished that by way of node selectors and node labels today. When Kubernetes schedules an application, it will select a preferred node where the volume exists. So how does this differ from that? Or in other words, what additionally does it accomplish that node selectors and node labels are not already providing?
So the main thing is that you don't have to decide the node ahead of time. When you are deploying your pod, you don't have to specify a node. It will just go and find any available local volume that meets your requirements. And then at that time, it will go and fix the node to the pod. So that's one of the main changes. And then the second main change is we can have the idea of forgiveness, where if, say, that node is having issues and the node fails or it's unavailable, then the system can automatically go and rebind to a different node with a new PV.
And there's varying levels of forgiveness, right? So like, you want to avoid creating a data replication storm every time a node goes down. So you could say like, look, if, pod's been unavailable for 1 minute in a stateful set, do nothing. If it's been unavailable for 1 hour, do nothing. But if it's been unavailable for 1 day, replace it. Is that it?
Yeah, so probably for specifying forgiveness, it'll have to be something like, either completely off, no forgiveness at all, or specify some sort of time boundary.
Right. So Gu, I think to sort of another way of maybe addressing that question is with node selectors, it's quite operationally onerous. So you've got your local disk, you've got you label all the nodes with the local disks, and then you use usually a replica set with the node selector, so that will guarantee there's always one pod running on that host using that disk. And if there's if that server dies, Kubernetes has no way to do anything about it. So this way, you can use a stateful set, which basically says just go run this in the cluster somewhere and make sure it stays running. And but what's different from normal stateful sets is what it does is it goes and looks at the claims associated with them, and because they're local disks, it will only schedule that stateful set on nodes that have local disks from the pool, right? And so you might have 100 nodes with local disks available in your cluster, but your stateful set might only be five pods or 5 nodes. So it'll go, just pick 5 and go run them according to whichever maybe quality of service you've specified for your local disk that you want. And it'll just go run them. And if all 5 of those die, it will just go find 5 other nodes with the similar local disks and just automatically go and make sure it starts up and runs over there. So there's a huge step forward in self-healing capabilities.
Yeah, I have a question. So let's say if a node goes down, chances are for many of these local storage systems, the data is replicated. And if a node goes down, you just don't want to grab a new PV from the pool. You want to be able to grab a PV that points to the replicas. So your application, can resume from where it left off. Is that something you're thinking about, or is it?
So are you saying that the replicas, so you would make replicas across other PVs, but they wouldn't already have some pod attached to them?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Set, instance that's running on a machine, but many of the host site storage systems, they have their data replicated on different nodes. And when that machine crashes, we can launch that instance on a different node that has a replica of the data that was, used. So instead of grabbing a new PV that points to crash space, you want to be able to point to a volume that has the copy.
Okay.
Crash
So
instance.
wouldn't that replica on the other node already have a pod instance associated with it?
That depends how you do the replication. If it's a replication that's done by, say, Mongo, then the answer is yes. That's not what's being discussed, I don't think. If, on the other hand, you do...
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I concur with what the earlier person said. It may not have a pod on it. So, like, for instance, with Portworx, we may have another replica set placed on a different node. So let's say there's 10 nodes in the cluster. 3 of those nodes may actually already contain the data. So it would be preferred to take any one of those other 3 nodes and the application would just resume. Again, even that we do accomplish today by way of node labels and node selectors. So just so you understand what we do is the application is launched with a node selector with a certain label. 3 of those nodes would have those labels on it. So if one of those nodes go down, it today currently gets scheduled on one of the other 2 nodes, not any of the 10 nodes.
Well, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but usually, so I get it, but with data replication, you usually want to maintain some sort of quorum, right? Of, you know, if you want 2 replicas or 3 replicas. So if you've lost a node, you're down a replica. So you want to basically be able to, you know, generally speaking across most of these data management platforms, right? Whatever it is, go spin up a new pod on a new host with a blank disk and have that be available and then rebalance your data, right? To get that back to quorum.
Steve, we're using the term replication and we're using it in 2 different meanings. That's confusing.
Okay.
There is application level replication, such as MongoDB, for instance. There's also storage replication that just simply replicates volume to another volume without anything on the remote destination. So that's actually one of the questions that I have in my replication document, because that obviously is sort of similar, but not exactly. So if it's MongoDB kind of a replication, then you're right. It's exactly like you said. Replica is down, which means the MongoDB or whatever the database is 1 shard fewer. You need to create a new shard and repopulate it. But if you have replicated volumes, you might want to start with that replica as a seed for the new shard.
Yeah, I get it.
So those are 2 sort of different levels, and I don't know how to use, I don't even know how to name it. We call both replication, but I don't think that's good.
Yeah, one's more like a block replication, the other is application, right? So if I'm understanding you correctly, you're talking about like, hey, I have, you know, dev SDB on server 1, and maybe I have a file system on it, and then I want to replicate the contents. Use some mechanism to replicate the contents of dev SDB to dev SDB on server 2. Is that right?
Yes, or it's dev SDZ or whatever the letter happens to be. Exactly. So you're doing replication like SRDF in symmetrics, or you could be using something like rsync or RDB. I mean, there are many mechanisms to do that.
Yeah.
And so if the dev SDB on node 1 dies, or if the node 1 dies, then you go to that destination, run FSCK, mount that volume, and you have it.
Yeah, I almost wonder, I mean, this is basically like a data locality thing, right? It's basically so thanks for explaining that, getting that through my thick skull there, Serge. But if I understand what you're saying, it's quite similar to like the way Hadoop, HDFS, and MapReduce work, or something to that effect, where you've got multiple, in your case, you've got whole disks, but, you know, blocks, whatever, across the cluster. And if, you know, and they're identical copies of each other, and you've got a process or a container running using one, and if that host dies, you've got an identical copy somewhere else. And so you just want to make sure that scheduler schedules the pod on that one, right? So you still want 2 different PVs, but you want to be able to express to the scheduler some scheduling intelligence on these. That says, hey, don't just pick any random PV. Actually have an additional identical replica, go schedule it on that one. So I don't need to go and do any rebalancing, right?
Yep. Well, actually, you might need to do some little catch up if the replication was asynchronous.
Okay.
You might be just a little bit behind, but not much.
Got it.
But yes, that's exactly what I'm driving at. Yes.
This is Venkat.
Isn't this the same as line number 17? The item around scheduling by node capabilities, line number 14 in the Excel sheet.
That's a little bit different. Scheduling by node capabilities is more along the lines of what storage volumes plugins are available on which machines. There's some overlap, but it's slightly different.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, thanks for the explanation. We were mostly targeting. Sorry, we were mostly targeting the use cases where applications do application level replication, and not so much the volume level replication. But we can definitely think about how this can support that use case as well. So. Maybe if you can send me some more details about that use case, specifically if we have anything like that today that's using that, that would be good to see.
By the way, it's not necessarily two different PDs, because you may, if it's an active passive replication, it may actually be sort of the same logical PD to change location to different place.
I don't think I followed that.
If you're saying that basically you're using, let's say, something like DRDB in order to replicate the same volume to a secondary node, and only one guy is allowed to really write, one pod is allowed to write that sort of DRBD pair in a given time. So you have basically essentially only one PD, logically, to just change its location from sort of the previous active node to the new active node. So you don't have to express it as two PDs. You can express it as one PD that currently have a location on node A, now switch location to node B. If that makes things simpler.
So in other words, you're saying if it's like RAID 1, like two mirrors.
Yeah, I think PVs are immutable though.
In my mind, that belongs to like lower layer. It would be like SDS with data redundancy, and the repair would happen underneath transparently.
I mean, that's certainly a way to do it, right? Just change the information in the PV to what it's pointing to.
The dumb question, if the PV is allowed to move around from node to node, is it really local storage?
Exactly. I don't think so.
Yeah, I think that this is a hybrid between local storage and a volume mount, because you've got two things thrown in here that it's not an open-ended external attach, because there are constraints on what compute node it might be attachable to. And potentially with some forms of replication, it's lossy, so that you'd view it as essentially a damaged copy that doesn't have 100% fidelity. But maybe the app could take advantage of that and save effort on the rebuild.
Yeah, but again, that to me is you have two PVs. One is the master, the other one is the replication target. The replication could be synchronous, in which case they're perfect mirrors, or it could be asynchronous, in which case the target might be a bit behind. And on failover, you just instantiate a new pod and connect it to the slave.
All right, folks, I'm going to cut everyone off. We're hitting the end of the hour. we could carry on this discussion. Maybe you guys want to hold a separate meeting that's just for replication.
We absolutely will.
Cool. Sounds good. All right, take care, everyone. Have a good day, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Hey guys, if we're going to have a replication meeting, this is Venkat from Portworx. We would like to be part of that as well. So
absolutely, yes, that's the intent. I'm going to publish the doc and then have a discussion shortly after that.
Perfect, thank you.
Sir, this is Chakri. Please include me as well.
Who is that again?
This is Chakri.
Chakri, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
All right, take care, everyone.
Thanks, Saad.